A good welcome to everybody on this lovely sunny Saturday morning in Gauteng. I believe in the Cape it's raining and wet and cold, but here we are experiencing a lovely summer. This workshop is in support of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So you'll see the colors that we've selected for this workshop is all in support of that. I hope that during this workshop, that you will be filled with so much inspiration. This is going to be absolutely based on creativity, and if you want to change something, you will be able to change it. So see me as the instrument to unleash creativity during these few hours we have together. The most important rule for this workshop is to have fun and to be inspired. Something that I have realized in my life is that it's very important to surround you with people that motivate you, that support you, and that inspires you. And during the next few weeks, I'm going to introduce you to those people in my life, people that I find inspiration from, find motivation from. I had a very close encounter with such an experience yesterday, and very soon you will meet her. She's busy writing her matric exams, so we'll just give her time to finish that, and then I'll also introduce you to that person that has touched me very close yesterday during Yaku's graduation. So we have had a matric graduation in our house, and then with me today is a very important guest and also someone in my life that motivates, that encourages, and that inspires me. And welcome next to me is Kaylee Vosloo. She's my daughter. She's 13 years old, and so often I encourage you to spend creative time with your children. And to be honest with you, in our own home, it's sometimes a challenge to find time to do it together. So I thought, let's do it this morning. Let's do something creative together. Kaylee has a very, very special personality. Kaylee, I know you don't want to hear this, but Kaylee has a very good sense of humor. She loves life, and she's the one that's my soundboard most of the times, and she's only 13 years old. So we are going to experience fun, creativity. You don't need to be nervous. You can just enjoy it with me. I know it's under strange circumstances with the camera facing you, Kaylee, but just have fun. Okay, just enjoy it. And it's a huge privilege for me to have you next to me today. You are going to be my energy for this session. Okay, so what we are going to do today is we are going to create our own wall art with wooden blocks, a creative session. And I'm going to share ideas, but you will be able to build on those ideas afterwards. Honestly, see it as inspiration, and I can't wait to see what you create after this. So I am going to start from my right-hand side and show you some of the blocks that I've done throughout lockdown, and then also show you Kaylee's creatives. So here we've done some dot art. I will show you today. It's not part of the workshop, but I'll show you how it's done for more inspiration as we wait in between steps for the paint to dry. This is some stencil inspiration, the same stencil that we've just used on both sides, but I'll show you how to stencil, how to create this effect. At the top here, we have been very playful and creative with both Tjhoko Paint and also with stencil of Paris based. I'll show you. Kaylee has made actually a much more beautiful one than this. I'll show later. This is inspiration for various colors if you want to create either a monotone feel, black and white, or a color inspiration feature on a wall, various colors, various geometrical shapes. I'll show you how to do it and how to play with color. Top here, I've used masking tape to create the lines and also incorporated some some texture. I'll show how to work. Masking tape is part of the workshop, so I'll show you how to create various lines with masking tape. Then you don't necessarily need a stencil. You can be playful with what you have in and around your house. We are going to Decoupage, Runel, from Hilton. This is your term for decoupage with Tjhoko Paint's glaze. We are going to do it today, and then you can stencil on top. Nice creative that we'll share. Here once again just a stencil and masking tape. Stencil work with texture, with stencil of Paris and paint and some sanding. And then you can create something very unique and different on a block, something more of a vintage, rustic look and feel. Top here is just whitewashing and stencil. And then on the bottom we've used Paul's Place and a stencil and sanding to create that effect. And then something that Kaylee has done. Kaylee, can I show? So and this is what the workshop, this is where I found my inspiration for this workshop. So Kaylee has used the Vaseline technique and some stencil design on this block with the colors we are going to use today. And look how beautiful this one is with a leaf art she did on the bright pink and with stencil of Paris. We'll show how it's done. Then here, Kaylee Decoupaged with a stencil design and colors. And here she used some masking tape and dot art to create something. But together, these 4 blocks create something beautiful. And you can add to it. You can extend your block range. Okay, now let's see what we are going to need for this workshop. So we have a crate of goodies that was listed on the invitation for today's workshop, and let's go through it so that you can make sure you have everything. If you don't have everything, relax. Remember, this is a creative session. Then we play around and we wing it. So a piece of sandpaper, I'm going to make use of 100 grit. If you don't have sandpaper, that grit size, 80 grit, 60 grit, 200 grit, whatever you have in and around the house. We are going to need some mutton cloth cut up, more or less the size of a kitchen towel, but this doesn't really matter as it's a creative session. As long as you have cloth that you don't all the time need to wash your paintbrush, you can wipe it clean and paint. It's a creative session, so nothing needs to be perfect. So there's my mutton cloth. And then we are going to need, this is free advertisement for Vaseline, Blue Seal, Original, Pure Petroleum Jelly. Okay, this is what we're going to use to create a very distressed look and feel, if I can call it that. The Vaseline is oil-based and Tjhoko is water-based. Tjhoko is eco-friendly. Tjhoko is non-toxic. So I'll explain why we're going to use this and when. Just make sure you have it. I have tissue paper. You can have gift paper. You can have serviettes, any paper design that you like. Okay, this is what I'm going to use. I also have music notes over there. We will see as we do it what I feel like doing. Masking tape is very important as we are going to, you will need it to secure your stencil, but also to create shapes on your wooden blocks. So this is the masking tape, any masking tape that you have. Paint scraper, very important. We're going to make use of a paint scraper. So paint scraper, must have for this workshop. If you don't have a paint scraper, you can also have like an old credit card. That will also work. We are going to need a paintbrush. And look, Tjhoko has got beautiful branded paintbrushes. So we are going to make use of a paintbrush, any size you have. So there's the turned around version. Lovely. We are going to need a stencil brush. Now a stencil brush has got short, stiff bristles to do your stencil work, and this is the brush we will be using for our stencil work. Any old brush in and around your house can be used for the Vaseline application. I'll show you how to put it away afterwards. We'll discuss all of that when we're busy with the technique. Any old brush for your stencil application, it can't be the same brush that you use to do your paint work. Then we are going to need a 15 milliliter measuring spoon, more or less. If you have something a bit bigger, a bit smaller, don't stress. Even a cup, the lid of a cool drink bottle will work, or of a lid of something can also work. It's just to measure more or less equal quantities. Then you are going to need, okay, let's start with the paint colors. David is the first color we are going to use. David is also the person that you can hear, maybe hear behind the scenes. He is busy to finish my kitchen paint work, as we only had Thursday afternoon to start with it. So I just want to be able to cook in my kitchen sometime this weekend. So David is a beautiful antique white color. We also are going to use Nayo's New, which is a warm teal color. It's named after a lady in the factory, as most of the Tjhoko colors are named after our people, as Tjhoko is focused on job creation. And then, due to the fact that this workshop is in support of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we are going to work with Pretty's Pink. And believe it or not, but Pretty is also a very beautiful person. She is the wife of Suzuki that you have met. Beautiful pink, vibrant color, and the reason why I've selected two very vibrant colors is the fact that I do have the David. If I want to tone something down, I will just mix it with David and mix my own colors as the workshop progresses, or as I feel something needs to change. So there are the colors I'm going to use. For the Decoupage, we are also going to need the clear glaze. The clear glaze is the sealer. Tjhoko has a built-in sealer. So you will see during this workshop today, none of these blocks will receive a sealant. We are not going to apply our glaze on top of these blocks. Tjhoko has a built-in sealant. You can wipe with water on top of that. It won't wipe off. But for our Decoupage, this is what we're going to use as our Decoupage glue, our clear glaze. And then, stencil of Paris, absolutely one of my favorite mediums to paint with, whether I'm doing canvases or even stenciling on drawers, furniture pieces, a lovely medium to use. It gives your stencil work a raised effect, absolutely amazing. And then we are going to need 4 blocks. I, on purpose, put this block on top because Rocco visited our vereniging store this week to select his own Rocco Arrow color. So this was our play block. We're going to repurpose it. Paint on top of it, because you can with Tjhoko change it, and then nothing goes, gets wasted. So we repurpose. So we're going to need these 4 blocks. Kaylee, I'm going to put them there so that you can use them later. You are going to work with stencils. Any Tjhoko stencil of your choice. I have a few here next to Kaylee, next to me, and this is a creative session even for me. So I will change and play during the course of this workshop and have fun with you. So there are my stencil designs. Okay, this you can put back, Kaylee. We have cool down boiling water. I'm not going to show that. And we have an old salad bowl or an ice cream tub or something. Tjhoko is non-toxic, so I'll just rinse it out afterwards and use it for my salad again. And that's for the Decoupage. So I hope you have got everything ready. If you don't, please note that this can be watched afterwards again. If you don't have everything ready, take a sip of wine, relax, and then watch this video again afterwards. Again, play with us. I think it's only the Cape where the people have wine at 11 in the morning. So in Joburg, we still have coffee this time of the day. So the first thing we are going to do is, Kaylee, I'm going to take this away from you, and we're going to put your blocks here, and you have brushes. I need you to please paint 3 blocks for me. And this is to show some creativity during the course of the workshop as we wait for things to dry. So we are going to paint that, Kelly, if you will help, in pretty pink. Something that you don't need to do now. Just allow me a moment to open all the paint pots. So one you can paint pretty pink, and one you can paint Naya's New. So you can clean your brush with a mutton cloth between coats. The pink might be too dark, and then just take another brush so that you don't waste time, and then we'll just wash all the brushes afterwards. Okay. So I have 3 colors here for you. Naya's New, pretty pink, and let's do it in Simon Says. Simon Says is a vibrant mustard color. If you are looking for a more muted mustard color, that will be Shorty's Story. Shorty is a person with a story every day, and that's why we've given him that name. Simon is Suzuki. Suzuki is here today, he's assisting. So are you good to go? Yes. You can put that in the crate. Okay, so you are going to paint here. What I am going to do is I am going to start with my Decoupage. Seeing that the glaze needs to dry, and I still want to show you afterwards. Oh, we have Maestro outside giving us, he just wants to tell you all that he is here. I am going to use this paper, and the reason why I'm starting with this step is the glaze needs to dry on my wooden block, and I'll also show you if you want to work with tissue paper. I know we mentioned gift wrapping paper for today, but if you want to use tissue paper ever, how to do it. I've seen many questions on that on the Facebook page. So I'm just going to trace my block with a pencil. So I'm cutting out a square, and I'm just getting rid of the border. Please ask your questions. Danny is sitting behind the cameras, and she will cue me if you have any questions to ask. Okay, and then I'm going to cut out my paper. So today in Gauteng, we have a temperature, I think, of 35. It is really hot. It's a lovely, sunny spring day in Gauteng. And tomorrow they say our maximum is 15. How does that make sense? We are so fond of this weather. We've had a terrible winter, but I think it was good for nature to have a proper cold winter. But Oma had 15 degrees tomorrow. Can you believe it, Kaylee? No. Tomorrow we're back in winter clothes. Luckily, we haven't packed any winter clothes away yet. When your children grow up, you will know, those of you that have children, you don't pack away clothes. Between seasons, you give them away because they grow so quickly. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I have my wooden block. I select a block that's quite smooth, so that this is a very smooth, even application. And next I'm going to mix my clear glaze. So Kaylee, your paintwork is beautiful. That's a pretty color. Just hand me the salad bowl, please. We have a question. Danny, ask it, and then I'll repeat it.
Nadine, do you need to sand the blocks beforehand?
The blocks that we have are quite smooth. So it's quite smooth blocks. And for these techniques, you don't necessarily need to sand them. For the Decoupage, yes. I would say a very smooth, even block, to have a very smooth, even application, seeing that the paper is quite thin, you want it to look as if it is part of your surface. If there's unevenness, you can sand it. Okay, but for the other techniques, no sanding is required. So if you feel that your blocks that you're working with at this point is a bit too rough, quickly sand them. I'm going to show how to mix the glaze. Listen, and then you can always pause and watch further if you want to. But just a quick sand while I'm mixing my glaze. So I'm going to use my measuring spoon, and how I mix the glaze is 3 parts glaze and 1 part water, but I'm going to use so little and I don't want to waste anything. I am using cool down boiling water. So afterwards, when I'm done, so it's 3 parts glaze. Afterwards, when I'm done and there's glaze left, I will put it back in my container so that nothing goes to waste. And then, sorry Kaylee for stretching over you, I'm going to add 1 part cool down boiling water. So 3 parts glaze, 1 part cool down boiling water. I'll just bring this out of the way. And here I have my cut out piece of paper. But what you can also do is you can maybe cut a diagonal line across, that there's not necessarily an entire block filled with an image. So you can be playful. You can even just do a strip. So just do a strip with your gift paper, and then you have the other half to use on another block with different images. For my creative session, I am going to use the full piece. I'm not going to cut it. So what I'm going to do is I dip it in my glaze and water mix. Just make sure a flat bowl will actually work easier. I'm just going to make this work. You can also, if you want to, tear up pieces of different gift paper designs and then stick small pieces of gift paper, as we've done with the tackies. Those of you that have seen the tacky video, you can have different designs and colors of paper on your block. Make notes if you want to, if at a later stage you want to try different things. That's what I do all the time. I have a book and I just write down every single idea that comes up in my mind. Now my paper is nice and wet. I take it and I put it on my wooden block. How beautiful will this be if I make a black and white focal wall in a room with just black and white images and designs, if you want to be more monotone. I heard some advice that was given this week that I thought was so clever, was the one lady said you can put a plastic, like a Glad wrap plastic, on top of your tissue paper and then wipe on top of the plastic to prevent the paper from ripping. What I also like to do, you can just use your fingers and gently wipe out all the air. And later, if I want to get rid of the excess paper, I'll use my sandpaper and a 45-degree, but only when this is dry, not now. We will sand it to make sure that we get rid of all the excess paper. Something that also works well that we have done in Liz Mayron's kitchen is we used a foam roller. This was not part of your to get together list for today, but look how lovely this works. So a foam roller, and you just roll on top of your sheet, especially when working with serviettes. That's quite thin. And you just roll to get rid of all your finger. For today, your finger is more than fine. Play, but remember these tips. Okay, and there, our first block is almost complete. We are going to create something else on this later, but this can now rest and dry for later use. Kaylee, how are you doing there?
I am enjoying myself.
What Kaylee is doing so beautifully is she is working with the grain of the wood. So you can see she has painted even here. It's difficult now because I've closed you up with so many pots of paint. Just move that up, Kaylee, and put that yellow block here so that we can see it on camera. So Kaylee is working with the grain of the wood from left to right. And that's how you use a paintbrush if you paint on wood. You work with the grain of the wood in one direction. Great job, Kaylee. Okay, next. Get your pot of Vaseline ready. Get your Vaseline brush ready. And we are going to, I'm just going to take it, it's fine. And now, I'm going to share a few tips before we actually do it. So very important. We have a question before I continue. Danny, you can...
Are you able to do the Decoupage on glass?
The Decoupage, yes. It definitely can be done on glass. I'm going to tell you why I'm so sure of my story. Is during lockdown, we have a wall unit. Those of you that have seen the videos, the blue ones that we bought, that was our first furniture pieces. They came in a set of 3 that we bought. And I painted that wood and I painted the glass. And the one glass drawer I Decoupaged with fabric and the other one with paper. And yes, it works. It's standing outside. I have flower pots in them. It does work. Only thing I would suggest is maybe paint it first, because that's what I have done. I haven't tried it without the painting coat. It's something I'll test. I've painted it first in a color of my choice, Tjhoko color of my choice. Clean the glass first with lacquer thinners. That will be your first step. Allow the lacquer thinners to cure for 40 minutes. Paint with a Tjhoko color of your choice. Allow for the paint to dry at least 4 hours, and you're also going to apply more than one coat. Wait in between coats for the paint to dry, 40 minutes. Once your paint work is complete, at least 40 hours, and then you Decoupage with your glaze on top of the painted glass. It does work. Okay, any more questions, Danny?
No.
Okay, no more questions. Let's continue. So I'm going to use my original Blue Seal Vaseline, and the reason for this, it is oil-based. Tjhoko is water-based. The other very important tip for this technique is not to apply Vaseline everywhere. Seeing the fact that this is oil and the Tjhoko is water, the Tjhoko won't be able to grip on the areas where the Vaseline is applied. So if you apply Vaseline everywhere, the paint won't have anything to grip onto. So we're just going to, and I'll show you now how to do it, we're just going to make long movements, not small blobs, then it looks artificial. We want to create the effect of those old pressed ceiling boards, those old window frames, where you can see the paint has, I'm going to open this fireplace's lid, because we have wind now, I think the cold front is coming. So that you don't hear that noise. So we want to create that old rustic look and feel of different paint colors applied to a surface, and then the paint is stripping. This is why we're going to work with a Vaseline. Okay, so don't apply Vaseline everywhere. Don't do small dots or small streaks. It will look artificial. We want an authentic rustic look and feel. And then very important, a generous amount of Vaseline. So if you see here, I am wetting this paintbrush with a generous amount of Vaseline. Afterwards, I'll put my Vaseline brush in a plastic bag, and I will cover it with a plastic bag and reuse it for the next time. You never ever need to wash your Vaseline brush. If you do want to get it clean, boiling water and wash to get rid of all the oil in it. But I just keep it as a Vaseline brush for future use. So a generous amount. Next very important step, Kaylee, we need moisturizer. So let's moisturize our lips. If it was evening, we would maybe use it as an eye cream. Okay. Next, I'm going to apply my Vaseline, but long streaks. Don't overplan this. This is actually something where you don't plan, you don't overthink. And I'm just making long movement, one there, one more or less in the center, not perfect, one from the bottom, I just need more Vaseline, to the top in the other corner. And let's put more so that we can easily get rid of the Vaseline. And just a streak there. Okay. So I've put one on that side, from bottom to top, one on that side, one in the center from top to bottom, and just a small blartsie over there. Now, we are going to start to paint, and Kaylee, you already have a paintbrush. You are going to select the color for me that we're going to use on this. What do you want to use?
Can I use one of these three colors?
Yeah. Or any color on the table. What do you feel like?
I think that grey.
You want to go with grey?
Yes.
Okay, here's Martin's move. We are going to work with Martin's move. Okay, and you can use your paintbrush. Oh, Martin was my father-in-law, and he was also a painter, and he was the person that always said that paint is like love. It covers anything and everything. So, Kaylee, go for it. So, Kaylee selected a very natural color. Maybe it's because you have painted with such bold colors already, Kaylee.
Yes.
So on top of the Vaseline, to prevent contamination, if you do quite a lot of this, I would recommend to pour out some paint in a different container, small little bits as you need it. Work from there so that no cross-contamination can happen and no air contamination of the paint standing open for too long. But we just paint. That's beautiful, Kaylee. So on top of the Vaseline, don't overthink your Vaseline application. Just do it, and not Vaseline everywhere. And it doesn't need to be a thick coat. As you can see, Kaylee has used very little paint and just made sure that she covers it nicely. And then she wipes her brush on her piece of mutton cloth. Okay, so there, that is done. I hope you are so far already. I'm going to tell you what is going to happen next, and then you can maybe complete your block. It's also completely up to you if you want to finish watching this workshop and then later decide what you want to do, or if you want to play along as we do it. I'm just going to put it over here. That can rest and dry. Now the next technique we are going to do, Kaylee, is also something fun. So we have our third block, and I'm looking for something. Yeah, let's take this one. It doesn't need to be smooth, it doesn't need to be perfect, no sanding required. And I'm going to, in my water that's underneath me, I'm going to wet a cloth, one for me, one for you. So this is what you get ready for our third block while we're having the other two rested. 2 pieces of mutton cloth, dampen them with water. Okay, I'm going to do that. I have water underneath my table. How beautiful is our Paint Master buckets? I'm reusing, repurposing buckets. So with mutton cloth, you need to work the cloth to make sure it absorbs the moisture, because it's stubborn, Kaylee. They are called teenagers, these cloths. Okay, so I wet them. They are more damp than dry, and I'm going to show you why. So the dampness of the cloth is going to allow the paint to easily spread on our surface. Okay, there's one for you. I just want to spread this out, because I'm using your blocks as my referral, Kaylee, for what's happening on this table. You're going to do your own, and I'm going to do my own, so that we can build an entire wall with blocks. Okay, so there's a block for you. There's your piece of wet cloth. I'm going to put this here. So I'm putting Martin Smooth. Let me just create some space on this table. Maybe I should take this away for the poor camera that needs to see everything that we do. So we'll just put it there until we're going to use it. So here are all the colors we can use, Kaylee. And if you want to use more, you are completely free to do it. I'm also going to put David there. So that was the initial color in my box. Okay, happiness. Now, first step, when whitewashing onto a raw timber surface, onto raw wood, is I've recently discovered that if the wood is wet, the paint gets spread more evenly. So we first wipe our wood. And if you put it like this, and wipe from left to right, it's easier because the grain of the wood is in that direction. So wipe your block. Okay, now you decide, I'm going to show you, and then you're going to do it with me, although you've already done it. But you're going to dip your cloth in some paint, and you wipe it onto your block. And now we can use various colors. I'm going to put some David there. I'm going to put some Naya's New over here. And this is called whitewashing. So you don't cover the entire surface with paint. You can still see the crevices and the grooves in the wood. And each timber surface will look different because each block is unique.
Do you think I can go with pink?
Absolutely. One thing with the Tjhoko color range is that all the colors go well together. So you never need to be anxious and be concerned that colors won't work. Depending on your preference, you can really have fun. I am having a colorful, adventurous time. If you want something more muted, more neutral, you will work with muted and neutral colors. So it depends completely on what your personal preference is. This is almost like a boho look and feel. Are you having fun?
Yes.
So I have randomly added colors here and there. And if you want to, you can also do the sides of your blocks. It completely depends on you what you see from the side. Is it raw timber? Something that you can also absolutely do is to use our antique brown glaze. I like that. So you can use the antique glaze, and I'm going to show you at the back. It's not something that's needed for today's workshop, but it's something that you can use to stain your wood. So let me show you, if I use it at the back of that block, what it looks like. So first stir your glaze, and this is now the antique glaze. It's not the clear glaze that we've used previously. This creates an antique look and feel, especially on crevices and detail, and it's lovely to stain a wood surface with. So I wet my wood first with my damp cloth, on the edge of my cloth, I have some antique brown glaze, and now I just wipe my wood with a glaze, and in an instance I don't have something that looks like pine and palette anymore. It is something with character. Okay, so this is a tip. This is a tip for this workshop. If you then feel that the colors are too dark, you take your cloud white or even Davet. I dip just the edge of my cloth in the Davet, and to tone this down, to make it lighter, I just wipe with my Davet on top of my antique glaze, and there I will stop there so as you can see the difference. There I have something different again. So this is a lovely way of playing around and staining your wood. I'm going to continue with that because I like it. I like the muted. Okay, in one direction with the grain of the wood. Kaylee, I love yours. It's beautiful. Okay, it's beautiful. I absolutely love it. So what we're going to do next on that is we are actually going to allow this just to dry for a little bit. Okay, because we need to put our masking tape on this, but if the wood is still wet, the masking tape can't stick. So let's allow that to dry for a bit, and then we are going to dry brush on a different piece of plankie. Okay, there's yours. Really? Give me yours.
This has Vaseline on.
Oh, I don't want to use this one because it's dry brush. I need a clean plankie. Okay, so dry brush technique, and this is on your fourth piece of board. So the first one, we did the Decoupage. The second one, we did the first step of our Vaseline application. The third one, we limed wash or whitewashed onto raw wood with paint colors. Lovely technique to do on raw timber pieces of furniture. Instead of creating an entire solid look of paint, you can lime wash them to still be able to see the crevices and grooves, and you can also use the antique glaze for that. Okay, what we're going to do on this one is we are going to dry brush. Okay, dry brush with all different colors. Let me just make neat around me. The Vaseline we can't pack away yet because we're still going to use that with more than one color. Okay, now, did you give me your brush? Now I'll take the dirty one. So if you have only one paintbrush, this is how you will go about when you dry brush. You will take a dry cloth, clean it properly. Okay. Then dip the edge of your brush, and I'm going to be colorful. It all depends on what you like. Dip the edge of your brush in a paint color. Have your paintbrush available, your cloth available to remove the excess. You can also use some newspaper. So the edge of my brush is quite dry. There's no excess paint on the brush. Does yours also look like that? Okay, now very soft movements. We are going to brush on our surface. So you fake a sanded look. So it's less effort, less paint, and we brush. And I want a solid dry brush. So it's something that needs to be more visible. It's fine, Kaylee. Start working off the edge. So that you start working, look here, off the edge. And then better. Even that, leave it, because the technique we are going to do, it can be more of a solid dry brush than a very fine, subtle one. Rather something that's visible. Okay. And then from the other side as well, as we've created this border here, we also want to create it on the other side. Dry brush is a stunning technique to use to create a subtle technique on a surface, but also to create the effect as if you have sanded down that surface or that area. Where as a matter of fact, you just used little paint and you brushed on the surface. And as you can see, I'm changing direction, so I'm brushing left and right, but also up and down, and it creates almost like a denim effect. I'm going to use, I like that, Kaylee. Kaylee, it's beautiful. And you are playing around with muted colors today, I see.
Yeah.
Is that the mood you're in?
Yes.
A calm mood.
Yes.
I'm changing now to, I've wiped my brush clean. I've dipped it in Nayo's New. I remove excess, something that I most of the time use as an indicator to see that the brush is rather too dry than too wet, is to use my hand, and if the brush strokes are definite lines, I know my brush is not too wet. If you make a mistake, and remember, there are always ways of fixing it. If you feel like, oh, it's too solid there, you simply wait for the paint to dry just a few minutes and you sand there, because this is a baked sanded technique. And the sandpaper then creates the effect that you want. So I'm just changing direction again, using a different color. And I'm brushing. And the less paint, the greater the success. You can rather later add more colors, more coats. How stunning is this? This is actually art on its own. But I like yours as well, Kaylee. Beautiful. Okay, and tip. Whenever you feel that something that you've painted is too dull, it needs some life, it needs some excitement, add a lighter color. David, for instance, on here would look beautiful, although I'm not going to do it because I'm going to play around with stencil of Paris later. But let me show you. You can always change it again. If I use David, dip my paintbrush in the paint, remove excess, and just add some light here and there. And not everywhere. Are you having fun?
Yes.
Okay. And on the edges, some light. Okay. And now we will put this block away, unless you want to play more, Kaylee.
No, I think it's almost done.
I love it.
Looks completely different.
Yeah, and it also looks different because your wood differs from mine, and the pressure of your hand and the amount of paint that you use differs from mine. But that is why art is so beautiful. It doesn't need to be perfect or look the same. It can be different. Okay, let's keep it there until it is dry. Our Vaseline block is still wet, and I'm going to give some inspiration on your painted blocks while we wait for our 4 blocks that we have prepared now. So we have our 4 blocks ready. The bases are done. I'm quickly going to give you some inspiration on what Kaylee has painted previously. So if you want to create a very colorful theme, different blocks of colors with different shapes and very easy, minimalistic shapes, can I give you some ideas? This is also something that you can even do on stationery, on a larger piece of canvas. So let me show you. So I'm going to use the stencil of Paris and a paint scraper and the back of my paintbrush. So nothing fancy, nothing complicated. Are you ready for this, Kaylee? This is something that can be beautiful in your room as a art piece.
Yes.
Different colors that goes well in your room, and just shapes. I'll show you now, but because there are already some shapes in your room. So I scoop some of the stencil of Paris from the jar. I spread it onto my painted block that Kaylee has painted earlier and that has dried now. So I just spread it, put excess back, make sure your equipment is clean. You also do one, Kaylee.
Okay.
I have another paint scraper, and I'll put this between the two of us. You also make one. Okay, let me move these pots away. So we want to see what you do, Kaylee. We want to see art. And with art, you are free to have fun. Okay. So we spread. It's like icing a cake. So you just spread evenly onto your painted blocks. It can also be black and white blocks. That's amazing. I've done it in my own house. I'll get them just now to show you. So on one wall I have black and white blocks with a stencil of Paris and just the black shapes coming through at the back. I'll show you now. I'll go get them in a moment. Are you okay there?
Yes.
So you can maybe do it thicker and like that at a more of a flat angle. Yeah, that's stunning. Love it. And it doesn't need to be perfect. The nice thing is, once the stencil of Paris is dry, completely dry, and you want a more of a flat, even look and feel, take your 100 grit piece of sandpaper and you sand it, and you have a very smooth, even finish. Also try not to apply it too thick, especially if it's a hot day like today in Gauteng. Then you can rather build layer on layer. I'm not going to do this. This is perfectly fine for what I want to accomplish. If you build it too thick and it dries too quickly, hairline cracks will appear. Oh, Kaylee, I love it. And now what you can do is, I'm just going to show, is with the back of my paintbrush, I just draw lines. So I draw with the back of my paintbrush, clean on my cloth. And it doesn't need to be complicated lines or shapes. It can be something like just this. You are doing it so perfect. And if you put all your blocks together, what I will do is I'll scratch more to reveal more of the color. Canvases in a room, on top of a bed. Lovely to do your own art. Always write your name at the bottom. And if it's not perfect, it's also fine. Okay, that's perfect, Kaylee. Okay. Beautiful. Now make your line in there.
I'm wondering what I should do.
Even a circle can work. A triangle can work. Even 3 lines from the top to the bottom can work. You play. Clean your brush in between. I love it.
It's not perfect.
Yeah, but it doesn't need to be perfect. Love it. I love it. And if we allow this to dry, and we have all the blocks, all the different colors together on a wall, just remove excess. We have our own form of art in our house. Take 5. Love it. Okay, can I put it away?
Yeah.
So this is inspiration to create something unique and easy as art on your wall, and it's stunning. And if you have different colors that go with your room decor and colors in your space, it will be beautiful. Okay, I'm going to put this aside. Well done, it's beautiful. Now I'm going to return to my Vaseline piece of board. So here we are going to now, I'm going to clean this for you so that you can assist. We are just going to remove the Vaseline, Kaylee, and apply another coat of Vaseline. Okay, so if you will do us the honors in assisting with that. I'm going to keep this for the... So you just scrape onto your painted surface. You can even use my cloth for the Vaseline because it's already so dirty. So we just remove the Vaseline. Stunning. And here you can see there's still a lot of Vaseline, so you can press harder there to remove it. Something that you can also do is change the direction of your paint scraper. Then you scrape, and then it will also, can you see, it removes the areas that you previously couldn't remove. Stunning. Pressing hard but flat. I don't create scratches on my surface. Okay, next, again very important, is a generous amount of Vaseline. And now I'm going to apply Vaseline, and I'm going to make sure I touch the areas where I previously did the Vaseline, but also where there's a solid coat of paint. So I go in the middle of those two, Kaylee, where the timber and the paint meet, in the center of that, I apply another coat of paint. Nie paint, nie Vaseline. Okay, so there are no set rules. And then I try here again, on the exposed timber, but also where there's still paint on my surface. A third streak there. What color? Have you decided what color we're going to use on here? You must also now keep in mind what we're doing with these blocks. Yeah. So we have some color there. We have black and white on the one where we've done the paper.
I think yellow, because we haven't used yellow as...
Okay, Simon says.
Yeah, or blue.
You decide. It's completely up to you. Make a decision.
I don't know.
Take the Nails Nude, will work.
Okay.
Okay, you can even use that brush that's already Nails Nude on there. And then for a third color, you can use the yellow. So you can build layer on layer. Every time, very important, between layers. First, remove all the Vaseline. Apply Vaseline again, not everywhere. Then a second color, remove Vaseline, third color, and you can apply as many coats of colors as you wish. And then just a nice even coat, and it doesn't need to be thick. You're doing it perfectly. Beautiful. It helps me to take a breath. No? Lovely. Perfect. Thank you. It's beautiful. Okay, this is done now. Our second coat of Vaseline is on here. And now we are going to allow this to rest. And we are also now going to start with a fun project. The masking tape. Okay, so let's rest that. Yeah, there's your board from previously. And here's mine. And we have masking tape here. I'm going to show some ideas. Sorry, Kaylee, I only have one. Quickly looking around. If I see another masking tape, I'll be quick. What I also do is I'll tear some off for me that you can have. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some diagonal lines on my piece. You can do whatever you want. Okay. So what I do is I use my masking tape as a spacer. So this piece will be my spacer to see that I stick the masking tape nice and straight. So I'll remove that, put it there, add another diagonal over here, put my spacer in here again. Do you want to start? Do you have an idea?
Yes.
Ah, that's great. Never ever let your ideas run dry, Kaylee. That's one rule of life. Always have an idea. I'm going to put some tape here for you to use.
I think that would be enough.
I like it. I love it. Okay, and I'm creating lines on my piece of wood.
Do you think I need to put one here, or must I just leave it like this?
Play. If you want to change it, you can change it again later if you don't like it. But you're not going to know if you don't try it. No. And that's the fun part of creativity. If you want to change something, you can always change it. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to play with both paint and stencil of Paris. And I'm going to create some diagonal lines on my surface. First, I'm going to work with paint. So I'm going to use my stencil brush that I've shown earlier. I'm going to dip it in the Naos New. And how you stencil, the less paint you use, the greater your success. Okay, so I remove excess paint. Are you going to do that? Are you happy with that? Do you know what colors you want to use, or only stencil of Paris? What do you think?
I think only stencil of Paris, because there's a lot of colours already.
And just keep in mind, you're only going to see those colors and a lot of whites. Do you like that? Then it's more muted maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, there's the pot of stencil of Paris. Then you continue. Do you have place to tear it off? I'm just going to lift this. If you want to remove your masking tape later, you have something to hold on to. Okay, just give me a second, Kaylee. Let me just lift this. Okay, and they're the same. So then it will be easier if you remove this, to first remove this one, because it's on top, and then that one at the bottom.
Then
okay.
I'm just going to stencil of Paris.
Yeah, If that's what you want to do, go for it. So I am creating lines, very important, very little paint on your stencil brush. Like the dry brush we've shown earlier, because then the paint can't seep in underneath. And I'm doing a Naya's new line over there. Remove excess on my cloth, and I once again use my hand as an indicator to see that my brush is dry enough. And so every second one, I'm going to alternate between the stencil of Paris and my lines. You can do more complicated lines on your design, depending on the time you have to your availability. See this as inspiration. And now in between, I'm going to use my paint scraper and also stencil of Paris.
I don't know what I'm doing.
You are doing perfectly fine. And in between, I'm going to apply stencil of Paris. Perfectly fine, Kaylee. And what you can also do is maybe just do 2 instead of 4.
Yes, but
then you have to, is that the plan?
Yeah.
Then you have 2 triangles. So I'm applying stencil of Paris over here. Nicely, evenly, but also I know that I can sand afterwards if I want to change anything. And then some stencil of Paris. This one. There's some paint on my paint scraper so I can see the pink coming through, and I actually like it. And there's a twist of color on my stencil of Paris, Kaylee. Pictures, you can print pictures of your kids and have them in between these blocks. Okay. You can continue. I'm just going to remove my masking tape, okay? But you continue with what you are busy with. And now I'm just removing my masking tape. I'm going just to pull our dustbin closer, Kaylee, sorry. It looks beautiful. Look, mine wasn't perfect, and if you remove the masking tape, it doesn't really make a difference. It looks cool. Okay, and there is a block, a block with lines. And now I'm going to share some creativity with you. Earbud, 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 earbud. And now we're not going to clean our ears, Kaylee. We are going to paint with an earbud and do dot art with it. Just look what I've done with my conceal jar, just for some. This is in our bathroom, we have this. Sorry, I've just touched it with my dirty hands. But there's some stencil of Paris on here in an old French stamp. But that was the design of the stencil. It's part of our range. With just a doorknob, and we have our earbuds, our... what do you call vata in English? Cotton. Cotton in there. Okay. Now I'm going to dip my... Before I do it, let me first see what your reveal looks like. How cool is that? And now with our fingers, we can just clean the stencil of Paris over there. How cool is this? Take 5, Kaylee. If it wasn't COVID, I would have kissed you. Okay, now we are going to use a cotton bud. You don't need to do it on yours. Yours is beautiful with the different colors and the triangles. I love it. We are going to dip our cotton bud in our paint. Okay, stop that. And now if you want to create, I must just now work with a steady hand. I'm going to press on this area here and create a perfect little dot with a cotton bud. And I'm just keeping my hand steady. How beautiful is this? The harder you press, the bigger the dot will be. But the smaller you press, the lighter the pressure, the smaller the dot. So you can manipulate the size of the dots with a cotton bud. So I'm just going to do this area. And then repeat that pattern on the other side. Something that you will experience for yourself is the more creative you are, the more creative ideas you will have. It's like exercising. When you exercise, your body gets trained and it gets fit. And the same is with the mind. The more you apply your mind to be creative, the more the creativity will just come naturally. So just start doing it and you will experience the fun. Okay, there's dot art, lines, masking tape, nothing hard to do. Love your block, Kaylee. I'm going to allow this to rest now and to dry, and then we are going to continue with our dry brush blocks. Okay, so the ones that we have limed wash or whitewash with just paint and a damp cloth and then masking tape is now complete. Okay, so let's put them over here. And there's your block. Nee, was that yours?
Yeah.
And here's mine. And now we are going to use Stencil of Paris again. And we are going to use a paint color of your choice. Do you want to? What color, Kaylee? And that's actually the hardest decision. I still experience it. If I need to do a project, what colors am I going to use? But if you sorted that out, I think everything else just falls in place. So do you have an idea? What we're going to do is the block that you've done over here. So we are going to play with some colors. There will be something subtly happening underneath. And we are going to draw some shapes or something on top of our Stencil of Paris that we've colored with paint. But we're going to do the coloring of the paste on our blocks. So we're going to play here on our blocks as we go. So let's just start playing.
Okay. I'm going to use yellow.
Okay, do it. Okay, you have yellow on your block. It will actually look stunning. On your previous block, there is some yellow. Yeah, the one that you've just completed. Yeah. Okay, so I'm just putting some Stencil of Paris on my block. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to dip my paint scraper just a little bit, it's 1/2 centimeter, in some paint. Okay? And I'm going to mix them together. Danny, are there any questions? You're very quiet in the corner. Are the people being creative and having fun?
I believe so.
Danny says she believes so. Let us know if you are having a creative fun session, if you are being inspired, if you are trying out something new. Okay, I'm going to also add some pink.
I'm not going to put down all the edges, I'm just going to...
Are you just going to do in the center?
Yeah.
I like that. So I'm just adding a little bit of pink on top of my existing nail. I'm turning it around and I'm changing direction. Okay, so it's not solid. I haven't discolored it solidly. It's streaks of color on my surface. And once again, if you are a more muted person that loves more grays, browns, natural tones, you will just play around with that. Oh, Kaylee, I love that. I love your yellow. Tell me if you need anything. I've just taken away some of the... Yellow is a happy color.
Yeah.
Not everybody necessarily likes yellow, but yellow is a color that grows on you. And yellow is a color that uplifts the spirit. So if you feel that you need some inspiration, especially color inspiration in your space, and you are feeling that you are going to be adventurous, yellow is definitely the color that will do it for you. I love it. Okay, now we are going to use the back of our paint brushes. If I can just find mine. Where did I put it? Okay, I'll have to use an... Oh, here's my brush. Okay, and you are going to draw something in there. I'm going to show you what I'm going to draw, and I found the inspiration from what you have done there. Just a line like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do the leaves. You can do anything, Kaylee.
I'm going to make a tree.
I love it. Do it.
I'm running out of ideas.
No, just do it. And the nice thing is if you want to change anything, you just scrape some stencil of Paris on again and you change it. Oh, I like it, Kaylee. I like your idea. I'm using now my apron to wipe the back of my paintbrush clean. You can use your cloth if you're not wearing an apron. Please share your pictures with us. Share what you have painted with us, even if it's not today. Share your block art on your walls with us. I love it, Kaylee. Love it. Kaylee, do you have a favorite color? What Tjhoko color is your favorite color?
Definitely. I like Comfort's blue. Yeah, I think.
Is that your favorite color?
Yeah.
But I think you like the person as well.
Yes.
That's why you like the color so much. Yeah.
I don't know how this looks.
But Danny's day is also one of our favorite colors, Danny. Definitely. Love that.
Let's put another one here.
Yeah. Tjhoko. Jaco is shouting from the back, Tjhoko. I love that. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, we are going to allow this to rest. And then, okay, I'm just going to do some stenciling ideas next. So on my paper that we've done earlier, here is some, on this scale, we're going to do something fun. Okay, so this is going to be the background, and we are going to add some color to this. I just need to see which stencil, and I think this one will work beautifully. So this is stencil MC016-15-G. So this is like a Moroccan tile, and we're going to do it on top of our Decoupage. Okay, let's see how it looks, and then if we want to make any changes, Kaylee will just do it. maybe just a section, no, the entire thing, no.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yes.
We are going to use the backing of our stencil board and mix some Nayos New in there. Yeah, because I can't remember. Oh, yes, my paint scraper. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to scoop out some stencil of Paris onto the backing of my stencil. You can also use something like a paper plate or newspaper, and then we're going to mix this with some Nayos New. So I'm just dipping my paint scraper. Let me just clean it before I dip it in the paint. You can also use rather a clean paint scraper. We do it properly. I'm going to dip my paint scraper in the Nayos New and remove any excess. You actually need very little. The moment the paint dries with a stencil of Paris, it dries 2 to 3 shades darker. And I'm going to mix this. You also don't want to add too much paint, else the paste becomes runny. I think the next workshop Kaylee needs to present because she knows all of this off by heart. She actually mocks me behind the scenes with workshop presentations and her humor. Okay, so we mix this together. As you can see, this is not bright, but it is going to dry darker. Okay, but yeah, I want a solid color, Kaylee, and this is why I mix it so well. And it's not a random mix as we've done before.
Yeah.
Okay, so on top of our paper, my paper was tissue paper, so it actually has dried quickly. So if yours is still wet, just allow more time for it to dry, and then you can do this step or other steps, whatever you prefer afterwards. Okay. Now, sorry, there's no block now for you. Can I do this?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just spreading the stencil paste at an angle. So my paint scraper is at an angle on top of my stencil. Afterwards, I'll wash the stencil immediately with some water, and it will be ready for a reuse. What you can do now, this is a creative session, Kaylee. Give me your paint scraper. I just want to add some pink and then maybe your yellow. No? Just some color on here and just randomly on top of what I've done there, and just move my stencil, my scraper across. Happiness.
Yes.
Okay, and let's remove, and let's all thumbs that it looks nice. Ta-da! That is beautiful. Nee? So you can see the French design of the paper I've used at the bottom, but there's also color inspiration at the top. Now once this is dry, it will blend with everything else that we've done today. Okay. Next, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so just to refer back, earlier today, we did the Decoupage with the paper on our block, and now we've mixed the stencil of Paris with some paint, applied our stencil on top with a mixed stencil of Paris and paint mixed together, and just randomly spread some paint colors, Tjhoko colors, Simon says, and pretty pink on top. And now this block is also complete. Okay, so we have completed 3 blocks, am I right? We have this block. We have the block that we have done with the wash and the lines, and here's yours. I'm going to, let's put this out of the way. So here's your block. We have the ones with pattern that we've done with patterns, and there's your yellow and my colorful one. We'll put it there. And now lastly, we are going to do the Vaseline block. Okay, now let's do that. I'm going to take this out of the way again, Kaylee. Okay. And then we have all the blocks that we did for the preparation. Okay. Now here's the Vaseline block. So you can clearly see on this block, I hope it's visible on screen, but you can see where the paint remains wet is where the Vaseline is. And on these areas you can actually see it has dried matte. So it has dried.
Yes.
Okay. So now you're going to, can I help you with that?
Yeah.
Because I have more clean mutton cloth here. So we're going to clean the mutton cloth. Bye-bye Suzuki. Dankie julle, nee. Okay, so I'm going to clean the scraper. You are going to remove the Vaseline for us, and here's a cloth where you can put all the Vaseline thingies on. I'm going to take this away for you that your table remains clean. And I'm going to select a stencil design, Kaylee, so that we, so lig so op, dan werk jy so. I'm going to select a stencil design next to you that we can use on top of that. Let me see what's here, what I feel like. I think I like this one. Okay, I have the winner. And the winner is, ta-da, this Tjhoko stencil. So this is the design we'll be using. It's on the 15 by 15 centimeter Tjhoko stencil range. There you can see it. So it's funky and beautiful. Marina Smith actually inspired me with a stencil on the bookshelf that she has painted. Stunning, stunning project. Okay. Kaylee, I love it. So here you can see it looks old. You can see how the paint has stripped off. I'm just going to clean the edges that it looks neat and remove any excess Vaseline. Okay, so if we're going to paint on this, it's very important that there's no excess Vaseline, else the paint won't grip. So I'm just going to tear off a piece of sandpaper, and then I'm going to remove excess Vaseline. The Vaseline will sit on the sandpaper. I'm not pressing too hard. I just want to get rid of the stickiness, the oiliness on the surface. Okay. How beautiful is that, Kaylee? It looks old and rustic, and we did it in a few minutes. Nee? Okay, now we are going to use that stencil that I've selected. And now any of the colors that you've selected for this morning can be used as a shadow. What I do want to show is if you use black, what the effect is that we will create. So just have a close look. This is what the plunky looks like now. Okay, and now we're going to change it. So I'm going to make use of Tjhoko's matte black. And are you going to stencil for me?
Yes, if I tape it down.
Yeah, rather, so that it doesn't move while you're busy. Almost at the end, and now I'm making a mess on the tablecloth. We will stencil this tablecloth. And something I'll show you, maybe Thursday. Okay, so the kitchen in my house has been painted and it's ready, but the walls need a 2-week curing time before we can apply the vinyls. So I think for Thursday's creative session, 4:30, we'll do some prints with leaves and flowers that you have in your garden. I'll show you how to make prints, fabric prints, pillowcases, tablecloths, napkins with leaves that you have in your garden and Tjhoko paint. So that is what's going to happen on Thursday.
Nadine,
Yeah,
how am I going
okay.
to get it secure? Because are we going to stencil these parts as well?
Yeah. So what you are doing now is perfect. I like the fact that I'm Nadine and not Mom. You're my colleague now, Kaylee. Kaylee, you know I'm raising you to take over the business in a few years' time. That I can retire. Yeah. You have 2 years to finish school, Kaylee. That's actually fine like that. If you're done with this one, it's perfect. Okay. And then with your free hand, you will just press it down.
Yeah.
And then we're going to use the same stencil brush as we used earlier.
I'll hold it down and then you stencil on top.
Okay, now do it. So once again, when stenciling, I'm going to repeat the steps. I just dip the edge of the stencil of the stencil brush in my paint. I take my cloth or a piece of newspaper. I remove the excess. Rather too dry than too wet, else the paint will seep in underneath your stencil. And then press down with your free hand. Kaylee is assisting. And I work in circular movements. You can rather apply a second coat. And I have made sure that all the Vaseline is removed. You can rather apply a second coat if you want to create a darker effect than too much paint and it leaks in underneath. To fix. So say for instance you did apply too much paint and it did leak underneath your stencil. Very lightly, once the stencil work is dry, you can take your sandpaper and just sand a bit. So Thursday we'll be painting my tablecloth so that the tablecloth that we made a big mess on now, and we'll create something pretty with things in our gardens. Okay. So I've moved in circular motion, made sure all the areas. Also, it's art. It doesn't need to be perfect unless you like things to be perfect. You just add more and continue. But for this technique and this block art, this will be perfect. It's just a bristle here. Okay, now we remove it. And now you don't need to worry because the paint is almost already dry. Okay, and there is my stencil work on the surface. What we're going to do next is we're going to create a shadow effect, Kaylee. So I'm removing your masking tape. I put the stencil down exactly the way it was. Okay, we just need to find that exact spot. Let's see, maybe.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
There you go. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to move the stencil 2.5 millimeter to the right and 2.5 millimeter up, or to your right and up or down, but it needs to be left or right and up or down 2.5 millimeter. So I'm moving it 2.5 millimeter to my right, more or less, and 2.5 millimeter down. Okay. And let's just hold it there for me. I'm just going to tape it, maybe just this section here, that it doesn't move. Okay. You don't need to tape the entire thing. The nice thing about using masking tape when you stencil is that it creates a border. So if you make a mistake or cross the border with your paint, it's on the masking tape and not on your surface. Now I need a paint scraper. We have a question. Let's listen. Yes, Danny?
Nadine, after you finish with the block you're doing now, we have a client that would like to know how did you do the black and white one with the rings?
Oh, the dot art. I'll show with a shadow effect. Okay, I'll show you. Oh, that's stunning. Kaylee, will you paint us a David block quickly? Make it nice and thin so that I can show the shadow effect. The dots was done with a yeah, but I'll show. Kaylee's going to paint us a block, and I'll give you a clean paintbrush. Okay. So my block, my masking tape is secured. And I spread my paste on top. You can also, like previous workshops, you can wash on top of your blocks. So you can, all the techniques that we have done over the past few months, you can apply on these surfaces. So if you want to wash, if you want to use the antique glaze, if you want to sand, I'll show you the shadow effect, the dot art. Here I've simply actually dipped my fingers in paint. And I'll also show, we have another block, I'll show you now. I've dipped my fingers in paint and stencil of Paris, mixed the colors together with my hands actually. We'll do it, we have a block. So we have 2 more blocks that I will show, more inspirational ideas. I like that. Okay, so nicely, evenly, I'm spreading the paste onto my stencil. So, Tjhoko Paint, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are going to write and start the writing process of our first book. So this week we have a meeting, we're discussing the book planning. The plan is to have the book on shelves for Christmas next year. It's quite a process, a creative process, a thinking process, and the idea with the book is also to show the people behind the scenes. We will have video material available together with the book so that you can see what happened behind the scenes with the making of and writing of our book. So this is something that's very exciting and something that has been a dream for me for many years. Like I said, that block now is done. Okay. So what I'm going to do next, while your paint is drying, Kaylee, if anything here does not make sense, pop a question so that Danny can ask it. I will, if I want to afterwards, and this is dry, maybe just sand in the center where the wood wasn't very level. But I like the imperfection of it. Okay, so I'm going to allow that to rest and dry. And now I'm going to show you to create something creative with your fingers and your hands. Okay, so I'm going to put some. Do you have a scraper? I'm so glad you're here, Kaylee, because most of the times I'm looking for the paint scrapers and the paint brushes. So here is some stencil of Paris on this surface. Okay, and here is my fingers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start having fun and playing around. So I mix some paint in the stencil of Paris. I can create some grays by adding some black here and there. It's a mess, eh, Kaylee? Do you want to help? Huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where's
Make
the
it dirty. Pink.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's our theme.
Our theme is pink for breast cancer awareness. Add some pink.
Am I doing it right?
Yeah, there are no rules. And maybe some white to just give some liveliness to it, because this black really made it dark. I'm going to remove some of this because now it looks too brown for me. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay, let's take away some of this, and then we add more white and more yellow only. The black made it too pink. Nee.
Ja.
Too the black made it too grey. Nee, Kylie.
Ja, it's been a long
Okay, and just add some yellow for liveliness. Okay. And then we just take the back of our paintbrush. And this will also, and I'm just going to make a pattern. And there we have something. Fingers and the back of a paintbrush or a twig in your garden. Okay, next. Dan, could you get it? Sorry, I move so quickly. I'm always in a hurry. The poor Dan just needs to follow with the camera. Okay. Next, I'm going to show you how to create those shadows that I've done here, and I'll quickly also show you with the ear bud. So I'm going to replicate this block quickly. So I'm going to need a paintbrush, and to create the shadow effect on the edges, sorry, I'm just going to take it again. To create the shadow effect on the edges, I'm going to show you how quick and easy it is to do that. So I take my paintbrush and I actually, once again, use my fingers and I dirty it on the side of the brush. So it's like our stencil technique we've done earlier. Next time we need more comfortable chairs. Okay. Lazy boys. Okay. So there's paint evenly distributed, not this time on the edge of the brush, but on the side. And it's a normal paintbrush. And now what I do is I hold the paintbrush in my hand, and this is something that you need to try and play with. The handle of the paintbrush faces me, and the edge of the paintbrush faces the edge of my surface. And what I do is with the back where the paint is, I move. And then I'll turn around. And then of course you can play with different colors. I can add some Martin's Move later. And also depending on the coarseness of your surface, I have a block that's not very smooth. So I get a different effect to what was created there, but I will also tweak it with grey colors and browns later. And that's how I create the shadow effect. And I'll show you if I want to make any changes in the center to hide any darkness, what I do there. So I just keep on rotating my block. Does it make sense, Kaylee?
Yes.
And then if I want to, where's that Martin's Move? I'm just going to add some Martin's Move here as well. And there I tone it down a bit. So it's just done with the side of the brush and a wrist movement. It's not a painting movement. I'm actually just moving my wrist. Okay, now to hide any darkness in the center. If I feel something maybe is too dark, I want to hide some of that. I'm going to take a damp cloth. Luckily, Danny has cut up 200 pieces of cloth. And just remove that excess there. Let me just get a damp. step. I'm taking the color that I have used at the bottom for my foundation coat, which is Davet. And I spread the paint evenly. You just use clean hands. My hands are all full of different colors now. I evenly distribute the paint onto my cloth. And now what I do is I hold it like a ball, press it flat with my free hand, and I wash over my block. To get a true shadow effect. And if you feel you want to add more shadows again, you can use your brush again and do the center pieces. How beautiful is that? No. And then with your earbud, you can create the dots. I'm just going to make yellow and black dots gaily. And once your dots are dry, you can press a second dot on top of the previous dry dot. So there are the two colors I'm going to use. And I start playing. You can also use a glass. And with your glass and different sizes glasses, just draw with pencil and plates, different sizes of circles on your block, so that you know you go in perfect circular movements. And this is how this was done. Oh yeah, the weather is coming. Okay, does that make sense? Danny, do you see any more questions?
No, not at the moment.
Okay, let's quickly rehearse what we have done for the day. You can even do this. Oh, let me quickly show you. So I'm busy building a flower there, and then I can build something here. So we make a flower. Oh, da, da. We make a flower block. And then, bear with me, I have a plan. And then we're going to make a dot here. And with our earbud, we are going to create a flower garden. Just simple shapes, very simple. And if you want to do it with more detail, go for it. Okay, and this one can go bigger. So we can have dots around here.
Yeah.
So that the center one is a nice, beautiful flower. And we can add some white to it. Maybe in the center of the existing dots. And this is how it will evolve into something very beautiful. Beautiful even for a nursery. If you want to create something, block art for a nursery. This is something that can be done. Minimalistic, maybe black and white, and shapes, as those are the colors and geometrical patterns that stimulate growth with babies. Black and white in a nursery, black and white, and incorporate maybe one block with some color that re-emphasizes the color or the color scheme of your nursery again. There is so many things you can do with this. This can be a lovely kids party to have children around the table build their own blocks. And these techniques can also be done on stationery. If you have kiddies' parties and want them to paint their own stationery for the new year. So this is really something that can evolve into something amazing by just applying your mind and let the creativity go. Okay, I am done. Danny, last time, are there any questions? No. Okay, let us know if anything was unclear. I'll be back on Thursday, 4:30, to show you how to do print work with leaves on your tablecloth. Okay, Almi has got a question. Let's listen. Okay.
Hi, can the stencil technique be applied with a syringe? Is the medium thin enough?
Yeah, you know what I've also tried to use it is a dripper. Like those you get at the art stores. And also I have makeup drippers. Drippertjies, what do you call it? Is there a specific word for it? Like an eye drop dripper, but a syringe will definitely work. The only thing is you can add water to the paint if you feel it's not thin enough. Just be careful that it's not an entire squirt of paint on the surface, but then you have a different paint technique again. Maybe drippers and syringes to make different art forms on a canvas even. But a dripper works, so a syringe will also work. Just work carefully. And if too thick, just add a little bit of water. Okay, it will definitely work. Any more questions? Are we good? Yes. Okay, enjoy the rest of Breast Cancer Month. Enjoy your family. Enjoy the growing up of your kids. Remember to surround you with people that inspire, motivates, and empowers you. Stay creative. I'll be back on Thursday with more inspirational items to do with Tjhoko. And till next time, lovely to have been here with you. Bye.
Bye.